The winners in exterior rehabilitation are Carlos and Cindy Garcia. After researching proper cleaning methods for historic masonry, Carlos and Cindy cleaned their bungalow's brick, revealing its original 1924 color. To complete the look, they also restored their original wood front door. The results brought new life to their home while honoring its past.
My name is Carlos.
And I'm Cindy, and we're from Beverly.
We've been here for about 8 years now.
We knew we wanted to freshen up the front entry. Luckily, I found a person who is dedicated to restoring doors, and we went with the rice pattern. It fit perfectly with the door, and it's a beautiful pattern regardless. So it's just a beautiful American door. It's like the history and the beauty of it. I just love how it looks.
Our bungalow was pretty dirty, so it's 100 years of being exposed to the elements. So the problem that we wanted to do is just have it had the brick cleaned. Well, we set up to do a little bit of research on the least amount of pressure for a power washer. So what we ended up doing is selecting a historical cleaner that was recommended by the Bungalow Association. Actually, we started with a couple of different levels of power washing. Some of these bricks have very intense colors, so they're very beautiful. It's bright. After 100 years, a lot of them are very dark, but you can bring them back. And this is an alternative to being able to paint it or do lime washing. We love the fact that the original color, that we brought it back as close as we could get to the original color. We love how it turned out. And most importantly, we didn't damage the brick, which was the most important thing for us.
The runner-up in exterior rehabilitation is Janice Trice. The concrete steps of Janice's front porch were cracked and crumbling. Determined to restore their integrity, she had the concrete re-poured, ensuring a sturdy and safe entrance. The freshly poured steps not only enhance the porch's curb appeal, but also provide a welcoming entryway to her home.
My name is Janice Trice. I've been here since 1974, and this is the South Shore community. The porch was like it was when we moved here, and over the years we got cracks and different things like that, so I had it covered up with carpeting for a while. And I know that concrete is supposed to breathe, they say, so I decided this year to have it all torn down, called someone in, and they gave me a beautiful porch. I love it tremendously. It changes the whole appearance of my house, and I'm able to sit out on it and don't feel shame about it. And it just beautifies the whole block. We all try to beautify our block. When one does something, everybody else does something.
The winners in interior rehabilitation are Jamie and Nate Tubbs. Jamie and Nate revamped their small bungalow kitchen on a budget by redesigning the layout with a new island, cabinets, and countertops. They replaced the wall tile with historically appropriate beadboard and added new appliances and fixtures. These thoughtful updates revitalized the space while preserving its original charm.
I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nate. We are in the Island neighborhood, which is the southwest corner of the Austin community.
And we've lived here for 8 years. It was like a big horseshoe shape, so we had cabinets lining all the way around. There was nowhere for people to sit, so it was an awkward, empty space in the middle, but not enough space to actually put a little table or anything for people to sit down.
There's also no dishwasher and no window. There's a glass block window, but not a window that we could open or see out of.
We spent 7 years, almost 8, living in here and seeing the kinds of things that would be nice to have or would make it more functional, and drew some different options, different pictures together, debated about where things should go. And then we started to play with IKEA's cabinet tool, which is a little helpful to see like a 3D layout of the space.
I was concerned we were going to be losing storage space, but it's actually even more space now with the island, with the taller cabinets. It's much more functional and even has more storage space now. We definitely spend more time in the kitchen now together. It's like just a space we hang out in more, whereas before we didn't really hang out in the kitchen. I love that we now have a dishwasher and our kids can put the dishes in the dishwasher and help out more.
17 years of marriage with no dishwasher.
Yeah, that's true.
We could not have done this without our two dads. They have tons of experience with plumbing, electrical, cutting holes in brick, taking out windows, that kind of stuff, and they really made this possible.
Runners-up in interior rehabilitation are Lourdes and Enrique Perez. Lourdes and Enrique finished their attic, adding 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a cozy living area. To maximize the layout, they rerouted the stairs through the dining room, creating an open and inviting flow and making room for first-floor laundry. With just a small setback dormer, the renovation enhances their space while maintaining the character of their historic bungalow.
My name is Lourdes Perez. We've lived here for 8 years now in the Chicagoland area. When we got here, it was a huge overhaul, a complete project, but the first thing that my husband noticed was the potential to open up the stairs, exposing the stairs, and then he also created a beautiful skylight to let that natural light in. Also moved a door to create a nice laundry room for us. Those were the initial phases of the project. Through the Chicago Bungalow Association, we're able to reach out to the Energy Savers program and had our first and second floor insulated. That was also a huge step in starting the attic. We decided to keep the classic bungalow look and added a dormer for the bathroom to expand it, make it a high ceiling, but otherwise the view from the front of the house still retains that classic bungalow feel. My husband and I figured we wanted a bedroom for each child. We had the space to give them a nice living area, a nice little couch and a desk for them to do their homework, and it's been great. It's a beautiful space for them to grow up in and love where they live. I definitely love having a main floor laundry room. It's so helpful to not go up and down so many stairs. That's probably my best thing, but I also just love the beauty of the stairways and the light that it lets in. It gives it just such a homey feel, and I know that my kids love their space and their rooms, something that we all enjoy as a family.
Runners-up in interior rehabilitation are Jim and Liz Donahue. Jim and Liz's back porch was cold, drafty, and underused. They transformed it into a clever double-function room, adding a butler's pantry for kitchen overflow and a well-organized mudroom, ensuring everything has its place. Incorporating heat and insulation, they also made the space comfortable and functional year-round.
I'm Jim Donahue.
Liz Donahue.
And we're in Jefferson Park. We've lived here for about 8 years.
Yep.
Before we renovated, the space was kind of a dumping ground, not cohesive to the rest of the house. So we took this opportunity to continue to use it as a dumping ground, but now a more organized dumping ground. We actually had the joists reinforced for the floor to make sure it could bear the load of the extra cabinets and countertop. We re-insulated the whole thing, and we also insulated the floor underneath and added an electric heater so that we could use this space year-round.
I think the best part is having the porch door to the kitchen open, because now we get the airflow from the porch into the kitchen and just the whole thing becomes a little more airy.
We ended up being able to take out the ceiling that was here before and raise it up to match the roof line. So that gave us a lot more space and it allowed us to put in some taller cabinets that have a lot of storage.
It's just the whole dimension of the room is just so much better. It has a little bit of drama, a little bit more light. It's just so much better having just the shape and the architecture different than a box.
Yeah, so now we're able to use it as both a mud room where we walk in the house and then also like a butler's pantry where there's some additional storage and prep space. And it felt like something that could have been appropriate for the period of the house in 1924.
Being out here is a lot nicer because we can look out in the backyard, and it's just a really happy, open, usable space.
The winners in interior restoration are Princess Ojiaku and Davis Peterson. Princess and Davis restored their living room by first repairing a leak that had damaged the plaster walls and crown molding. They expertly patched the plaster, uncovered original floors, and had wood trim refinished. After using lime wash paint on the walls and adding a ceiling fan where they uncovered an electric box, the historic room was brought back to life.
My name is Princess Ojiaku,
I'm Davis Peterson.
and we've lived here for 6 years in Rogers Park. When we first bought the house, it was pink carpet and semi-gloss white paint all over it. It seemed like a white box. We refinished the floors, and we also did the trim. A few years went by when we were figuring out some of the issues with the chimney and the plaster. We had some bubbling of plaster.
Oh,
Yeah. And so once we figured out the moisture issue, we were like, let's plaster and fix this hole. Since we did the plaster ourselves, we knew that it probably wasn't going to look perfect. So that's where the lime wash came in. It's a kind of swirly paint that has a lot of texture, and it can hide imperfections. Much better than gloss. It shows everything. There weren't any lights on the ceiling, that little cap everyone has. I was like, let me just pry this off while I turn off all the house power in case I get electrocuted. And then I was like, oh, it's an electric box. So we decided to put a ceiling fan there. I think it feels way cozier now and like a place to have friends over and relax.
I think for us, we wanted to wind up with a house that had a feel that was like the original. Being able to use sort of materials that might have been available when the house was built. I think we've just been looking forward to trying something like that ever since we bought a house.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity too. And, we get to continue in the long historical line of people who loved the house before us.
The runners-up in interior restoration are Danny and Sam. Above their fireplace, Danny and Sam discovered original art glass windows concealed behind faux stone. They carefully removed the stone, restored the walls, repaired the cracked glass, and even refinished the oak mantel. Matching the mantel, they framed the windows in oak, creating a stunning focal point in their living room.
I'm Danny.
I'm Sam.
And we actually live in Albany Park, and we've been in this house now for 4 months. So when we bought the house, the fireplace was actually the same stone, but all the way up to the ceiling. And we kind of knew from the get-go that we wanted to do something with it eventually. But when we actually did our final walkthrough for purchasing the house, we walked around this other side, which we hadn't done before, and discovered that there were actually the original stained glass windows there.
In terms of the fireplace, we started just ripping off the tile one by one, and when we saw the light coming through that first stained glass window, it was like, oh, we were so excited. And yeah, they were a little broken. We went to this local repair shop called Frederick's Stained Glass, and he helped us fix one that was more badly broken. Danny did the trim and lightened the mantle, and then I whitewashed the stone so it wasn't as dark, and I kind of wanted to distress it a bit so that it looked a little lived in.
The plaster back there was so damaged, we ended up drywalling it in, and for a long time it was just the stained glass windows. And then we eventually decided when we stripped down the mantle to oak that, you know what, maybe let's try and match that white oak and give it a little more character.
I think we're really happy with the final result. One of my favorite parts are the frames of the window, because I just know that Danny made them by hand, so it's kind of special. And also I just love the history and color that the stained glass window brings into the room. I feel like it just really makes the room feel alive.
The winners in window restoration are Brian and Rachel Kempen. The original wood storm windows of Brian and Rachel's bungalow were in poor condition. Doing the work themselves over a few years, they fully restored 14 storm windows and repainted 8 others. They removed layers of old paint, filled in any wood rot, installed new glazing, and gave the storm windows a fresh coat of paint, ensuring they were both functional and beautiful.
I'm Brian.
I'm Rachel. This is Sydney.
And we're in Albany Park. When we bought the house in 2019, the windows were in terrible shape. All the paint was chipping, a lot of the glazing was coming off. They didn't open, they were sealed in place. And over a couple years, we removed all the windows, stripped them, reglazed them, repainted them, and now we can operate them and put the screens in the spring, summer, and fall and enjoy some fresh air.
We really had to fight the windows to get them off the house. They were glued in place, caulked in place, painted in place, so it was just a feat to get them off the house. So we put a lot of man hours into it. This was a labor of love for sure. As we were doing it, we found an article that said refinishing old windows would be about $1,500 a window, so we were especially glad to be doing it, even though in the time it was frustrating.
We removed all the original hardware from the outside, stripped that in a pot, and spray painted it in nice aged copper that contrasts nicely with the blue and the red brick. The storm windows really help to keep out the cold air. So between the storm window and then the casement window on the inside keeps the house nice and warm in the winter, nice and cool in the summer.
Yeah, come summertime, it's really my favorite to take the storms off and put in the screens and enjoy a nice fresh breeze. And now we actually can, now that the windows are operational.
The runners-up in window restoration are Della and Nashaka Porter. Della was determined to preserve her bungalow's original windows, even though they no longer opened. With the help of her daughter Nashaka, the historic windows were repaired, the wood refinished, and the art glass cleaned, bringing new life to this cherished feature of their home.
My name is Nashaka
My name is Della
Porter.
We lived here 35 years, and we live in Humboldt Park.
It's been years since we were able to even raise the windows up. They would break apart. They were the original windows from when this house was built. So my mom would complain every spring that she could not open up her windows. So she told me that, well, make sure you find someone that can restore the art on the windows because I need to keep it. And something told me, go on the Chicago Bungalow Association. So I went on Instagram and I'm looking through and I'm like, oh my God, I found it. It was several people on there that actually had their windows restored through this company called Mulligan, and the project started.
And they are beautiful. I love it. I can lay the windows up. I can keep them up for a while, let fresh air come in, and I just love it.
And you have your original windows.
Yes, I do.
They restored them, and I mean, they are perfect. My late dad, he's been gone a year now, and he loved those windows too.
We was looking for a house because the kids were small. We came through here, just looking, and we looked at the house. He said, those are beautiful windows, babe. And he loved it. That's why I wanted to stay. I did not want to change him at all.
The winners in small project are Yolanta and Kurt Kupferer. The built-in shelves around Yolanta and Kurt's fireplace had been covered with mirrors in the 70s, and they aimed to restore it to its original wood finish. They carefully removed the glass, stripped the adhesive, and refinished the wood before Kurt completed the restoration by crafting matching cabinet doors.
My name is Kurt Kupfer.
And I'm Yolanta Kupfer.
And we moved into the house in 2016. When we moved in, the built-in cabinets were faced with mirror panels. We ended up taking off the mirrored panels. Unfortunately, the original doors were nowhere to be found.
We looked.
I took the mirrored panels off. I was fortunate enough to find some older pieces of wood in the garage that matched the original wood of the mantle and the cabinet exterior. So I was able to mill that and recreate door panels that match the original wood.
We think. We didn't know what it actually looked like. So we kind of looked through old pictures and
I just sort of recreated what I thought the original doors would have been like.
you can see a nice texture there when you open it up, and it adds a little bit of depth.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't there before.
And it has a more vintage feel and look
Yeah.
to it than the mirrors, so that's what I like most about
Yeah,
it.
retained a lot of the charm of what we think the original was.
Yeah.
The winners in Green Project are Heidi and Mark Milby. Heidi and Mark prioritized energy efficiency in their attic renovation. They air sealed, insulated, and incorporated an electric heat pump for heating and cooling. The result is an added 3 bedrooms, bathroom, and extra storage that minimizes energy consumption and maximizes space.
I'm Heidi Milby,
And I'm Mark Milby.
and we've lived here almost exactly a year.
This is a 100-year-old bungalow. About, we think, 50, 60 years ago, the owners built 1 bedroom and a bathroom in the attic, but the rest of the attic was totally unfinished. When we bought it, we saw the potential to add additional bedrooms.
We wanted to do something that was energy efficient. We looked at a couple of different options, and at the end of the day, what we chose was the most energy efficient and actually was the cheapest option for us too, so it's kind of a win-win. So now we have 3 bedrooms upstairs with 1 bathroom, and we added a couple of closets, and so it's a really functional space for our family to kind of all be upstairs.
We did spray foam insulation on the attic ceiling. The status quo would have been to pipe radiators up to those rooms and then have to add a separate air conditioning system. So that was a case where that was actually more expensive than just going with a cold climate heat pump to do it all. It's so quiet that we're able to put it on the side of our house.
The gel add is really great that you don't get that typical air conditioning noise if you have someone who has a central AC or even a window unit next to your house.
And then the other advantage of the ductless system is just having control for each room is really cool. You know, a room needs a slightly different temperature, you just change it using a remote.
But then we also did upgrade to a 200 amp panel, which allowed us to then add the heat pump because we needed, more power to do it.
I think this project shows that it's not too hard to just over time on that journey to make improvements that'll just make it so your energy bills are not that much, your carbon footprint gets down, and eventually you have a home that is very comfortable but is, going all electric and using less energy.
The runner-up in Green Project is Laura Barnes. To address basement flooding during major storms, Laura disconnected her downspouts and rerouted them to a swale in her backyard. She removed turf grass, added stones to manage the water flow, and planted over 15 varieties of native plants. This thriving garden not only helps prevent basement flooding, but also attracts pollinators and butterflies.
My name is Laura Barnes. I purchased this house in 2020. There was some flooding in the basement, so when there's a storm or something and a lot of water goes into the sewer, that's what caused the flooding in the basement. So we wanted to disconnect the gutter and downspout and then put it into the landscape. So then we can actually utilize that water for some plantings and some native plantings and just bring the water into the ground. Since I am a landscape architect, I knew the type of plants that I wanted to put in the ground, something that could be sustainable and also last for a very long time. So I was looking at perennials, so they come back every year. When we rerouted the downspout, the water comes into a specific area, so it's a high velocity flow. So I also added flagstone and stone and rocks, like river rocks, where the water comes out to slow the water flow. Then it can infiltrate into the ground better and then provide a larger area for the water to seep in and provide water towards those perennials. The garden is a special place for me, so when it comes to having the plants that I get to use on a day-to-day basis, and then being able to see it in my own personal space brings me joy because it's not just for the community, but this one's for me.
The winners in landscape design are Carrie Pallardy and Robin Rogowski. Carrie and Robin's front yard was overrun with weeds and patchy grass. They layered cardboard, leaves, and soil, allowing it to decompose over winter to enrich the soil for planting. Each subsequent spring and summer, they added native plants and perennials and built a window box for annuals, resulting in a more inviting space for people and pollinators alike.
I'm Carrie Pallardy.
And I'm Robin Rogowski.
We bought the home in November 2021, and we are in the Portage Park neighborhood.
So before, when we first moved in, it was just a dirt patch with weeds everywhere because there was too much tree cover and too much shade, so it was not very nice looking.
When there was still grass, and whenever you're gonna plant something, you need to kill the grass. So we started with a layer of cardboard and then compost, so things like grass clippings, dead leaves, and then covered everything with a layer of dirt. Let that sit over winter for everything to decay and create a nice rich base layer for planting.
The first thing we did is Carrie's brother Rich actually was a great gardener, and he helped us pick plants from their parents' garden. So that was how we started. We identified plants that he thought would do well here. We basically dug up the roots in the winter time after they had gone dormant and then just planted them in the dirt and waited for the springtime. That gave us a good base of stuff.
We've seen monarch butterflies. We have a lot of plants that really attract bees, so we come out here in the afternoon and there's 30 plus bees enjoying the yard. I like being able to contribute to that. Pollinators are obviously important for a healthy ecosystem.
Then I also love that we've been able to repurpose things. We took rocks from like my family's land in Wisconsin and some other places, and then the plants from her parents' garden. So it's nice to be able to reuse things and have them be part of the garden.
The runners-up in landscape design are Reggie Newton and Sarah Finch. Reggie and Sarah transformed their small backyard, which was previously an awkward space dominated by a concrete pad, gravel, unlevel pavers, and an obsolete catch basin. By building a floating deck over the entire area, they created a more versatile and usable outdoor space, perfect for relaxation and gatherings.
I'm Reggie Newton.
And I'm Sarah Finch, and we are in North Park. So when we moved in, everything where we're sitting was pavers and a 7x7 concrete pad that I think it had a hot tub at some point in the history of the house. And so we used that as our patio space. We had a very tiny little patio set. Between that pad and where the air conditioner was, just weeds or bushes and things like that, and also one of those old catch basins. It didn't allow us to do anything. So we were kind of stuck in the corner, surrounded by all this space, but nothing to do with it. My dad is a master woodworker and was visiting, and we were sitting in our tiny little corner patio. And he said, well, what if we were able to just build something over this whole space? And that's really what led us to coming up with this vision. My dad did the design. We measured the whole space. That's how we ended up deciding to do steps on both sides so that we could walk down to the lawn and also down that way. And so, quite frankly, without my dad, this wouldn't exist. There's no way we would have been able to do this.
Yeah. A family project, a labor of love.
Yes.
For pretty much the entire summer doing the work on it, but
yeah,
we're going to enjoy it for many summers now.
Yeah.
Knowing what we had before was not a place that was good to hang out in. It was a concrete slab, basically, and that's, a very small, cramped space that you wouldn't really entertain in or do anything. And now we'll set up a TV set, we can watch like a movie or watch a football game and just hang out. It's just a pleasant, nice, quiet space in the city.